feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big things. Doing big things. We ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front, I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as...
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. This is your first time tuning in. Catch all our episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. I'm excited for our guest today, not for the reasons that Kevin is thinking, because on his form, he filled out gambling, casino math, and I'm headed to Las Vegas, Nevada in 2 days, and I love playing poker. But we're going to get into detail of casino math. I want to know what that means. But Kevin, why don't you intro our guest today?
All right, today we've got a fantastic and unique guest, Dr. Peter Ricci, the director of the globally top-ranked hospitality program. We have a ton in common, so I'm excited to have him on the show today, right? We're both alumni of UF. We are both in charge of globally recognized top programs, me in entrepreneurship, of course, him in hospitality. Both UF alumni as well. So, Peter, tell us a little bit about how you ended up in hospitality and as a professor in that role.
Oh, boy. Well, thanks, guys, for having me. So I started in high school working in a restaurant. My goal was to go to law school. Wound up at UF, worked food and beverage all through college. Got into law school, went for about 4 weeks and hated it. And then said, now what am I going to do? So I went back and did a master's in tourism, and I've been in the business my whole life. I never thought I'd wind up teaching. That was a twist of fate later on. I was running hotels and always needed staff. And somebody said, you can teach part-time since you have your master's. And then I fell in love with teaching. And I went back to school later, long time.
So what was it that you liked or appreciated about hospitality, right? Like, it's a tough, brutal business, or it can be in many ways. The South Florida economy, depends on hospitality a lot, but it's hard. Why?
It's just a blast. I love it. I have an entrepreneurial spirit, and in high school, I worked for a guy who became a self-made millionaire by the time he was 33. And it was the 80s, so fine dining was all the rage, cooking tableside, flambe, fine liquors, and he owned more high-end restaurants in South Florida than any one person still to this day. He had about 17 of them, and he sold them all. He saw the future coming of nutrition and health and balance, and he got out of the creamy food business, retired himself to a big old horse farm in Ocala. But he instilled in me like this passion for helping others and really making people feel good. Our restaurants were just pure amazing. And so like the business is hard, but it's also we work hard, but we play hard. And you'll have friends in casinos and hotels and cruise lines. And it's like, what better friends to have? They hook you up all over the world to do stuff. So the business is amazing. It's just amazing.
Peter, what's the number one reason why people fail in this sector? Right. You see so many students going after, this dream of owning a restaurant.
Well, everybody wants to start a bar. Yeah, exactly.
And you kind of have some data behind this, but what's the number one reason for failure?
They fail to prepare. You need a business school. It's one of the reasons I left academia originally. I taught at UCF for a few years and we pulled out of the business school. Yeah. And the quality of my students they fell precipitously. So I went back to the hotel business, and then lo and behold, the president at that time at FAU, he said, I want to start a program here in the business school. We just got it kicked off. Would you come and consider coming back to academia? And I said, yeah, as long as you keep it in the business school, because I saw what all my entrepreneur owner operators went through, and they had the three things. You have to have the stick-to-itness. You have to have the strength and ability in your stomach to deal with your checks not automatically going to be there. You have to buy your own insurance and stuff. And a lot of people just don't have that tenacity to make it work, and they run too soon. Or they think it's going to be too easy. Like, I'm just going to come up with a product that everybody
you
wants.
build it and they will come.
Absolutely.
In a nutshell. A beautiful restaurant, and then no one comes through the front doors.
Yeah, and you might be surprised to hear, but that comes up a lot, not just in hospitality, right? That business education can be immensely important. I know one of our students in the audience today is pursuing education in both engineering, but at the same time, entrepreneurship and business. Because if you're the greatest innovator and engineer in the world, you may not be able to successfully bring something to market if you don't understand the basic fundamentals of the business side. So that's why we do the education that we do here at the Adams Center, and also in our continued education programs at Executive Ed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people go in as an entrepreneur for the wrong reason. Like, you may make the best goulash. So all of a sudden you're going to open a restaurant. It's going to be called Goulash Kings. You've done no feasibility study to
Yeah.
find out if people want to eat goulash. You get the cheapest location you can find, and then you have no visibility. All these failure points. So you have to really go into it with a strong plan and the drive and the ambition. But our business, the president of the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association is a friend of mine. Her name is Carol Dover. And we have a statistic that we love to push out every year. And every year I verify with her. There are more millionaire entrepreneurs in hospitality than any other business sector. And if you think of it, it's sports drinks, it's hotel brands. There's a Marriott, there's a Hilton, whoever started JetBlue, Disney, you name it, that was started by an entrepreneur. Across our spectrum, casinos, cruise lines, restaurants, travel agents, all of it. So I think it's a great spot for an entrepreneur, but you have to do your due diligence.
Let's talk about some of the biggest brands that have done it right. Like, kind of go into detail, like, because of course you use them as a framework, like the Four Seasons as an example, or the Wynn in Las Vegas is known. Like, just, it's the best one on the strip. New hotels could pop up like the Fontainebleau, but everyone knows the Wynn still has their act together. There's something about it.
Absolutely. The Wynn's one of those iconic brands that Steve did very well, and it'll be here to stay. I think Hilton does it really well in terms of your student audience today. Their age range, for the most part, they're really after people 15 to 40. I don't think Paris Hilton is the best spokesmodel, but she's back involved in the brand, and she's really helped them to move forward as an employer. They've been voted number one company to work for, not only in hospitality. They beat out Google, they beat out everybody else. Best place for women, best place for diversity. They win all kinds of things. And they're very entrepreneurial in their type of hires. So my Hilton alumni, they're working for a massive corporation, but they're each allowed to be an entrepreneur within their own business unit. And they're more flexible than some of the other brands.
Kevin just perked up. You said Paris Hilton. I saw him getting excited over there.
I thought
He's like, that might be my new brand. No more Marriott. He's a Marriott type of guy. You could tell.
I was excited because I wanted to ask the reverse of that question, right? So what is a brand that people would know that you might advise a student not to take a job at? Is there a brand that comes to,
Spirit just filed bankruptcy. So yeah, the Spirit's a no-brainer.
All right. Well, what would be another one, maybe even a local one, if you're willing to name it, where you might advise a student, probably don't take a job there?
I hate to say this because I have many, many Marriott fans and friends and family that work there, but I'm not a Marriott fan because of the experience I had when I was in graduate school. I went into their program at the master's level. I had already worked in hospitality for 8 or 9 years. It was a required internship. I came to South Florida and they asked me to canvass Fort Lauderdale for new business. So I went out and actually found clients, found their dates, found the size of the events. And when I came back, my mentor at Marriott, if you can say that word loosely, said, "Oh, we only have students find the names. We don't want you to actually go and book the business and do anything." And I said, "But I've been working for 9 years in this business and I've brought you business." And he said, "No, that's just not the Marriott way." So I had to step back and realize that Marriott's a super successful company started by an entrepreneur. And it's because their philosophy are, if it's not broke, don't break it for me, follow our system. But I had a hard time with that because I'm very much an entrepreneur spirit. And even now, And Dr. Kidwell was here in the audience. He knows this. For us to do entrepreneurial activities, we have to fill out for the state of Florida outside work things. I'm always doing them because I thrive on my consulting work and my endeavors in the business as an entrepreneur more than I do from running the program. That's where my spark is.
All right. Well, one of our students in the audience wants to know about maybe some things that did not go so well. So have you ever had a major failure in the hospitality industry? And then would you advise somebody who has a failure to try it again?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had some bad leaders. And, most people quit their boss. They don't quit the industry. So a lot of hospitality students and alumni will get a bad egg right away and they'll quit the whole industry over one person. I encourage you not to do that. So for me, I had a boss one time. I was a regional vice president for hotel brands and I had 7 hotels and I got my annual review. All the hotels were doing well, above budget, happiness and guest satisfaction. And I got 3s across the board out of 5, 1 the worst, 5 the best. And I said, how can you give me all 3s? And he said, well, that's how I believe. Everybody's middle of the road. There's always room for improvement. I was so pissed off, I quit. And I went across to their competitor and I blew it out of the water. But I didn't quit the industry. So you do need thick skin. If that student is saying they've had some difficult guests in Boca, well, that's Boca. And what I tell our students is if you like hospitality here, you're going to be able to work anywhere in the world because South Florida guests are difficult. They're demanding, they're picky, they're affluent, they know what they want.
Even Boca Raton?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we are in the fertile ground for preparing you. I'd like us to see more entrepreneur majors with a hospitality minor and vice versa because there's natural synergy with what we do. You can go out and open a coffee shop. You can come up with your next energy drink. The future's wide open if you just plan right.
Yeah, and you are a great example of that. You did something pretty incredible during the pandemic in offering this online course in hospitality that I think more than like 80,000 students have taken. I mean, I have like 40 students, and that's really more than enough. Tell us about that.
Yeah, and again, that wasn't thinking like an entrepreneur, but because that's in my DNA, it came out that way. What I kind of tried to do during COVID, those of you who work in hospitality, we were all shut down, every business. So in hospitality, you work a lot of hours and you're always with people. So everybody was feeling like the rug got pulled out and they were losing their way more in life than anything else. So we put together an online certificate just to keep workers engaged while we were in the pandemic. And it wound up passing 170 countries, and we had almost 80,000 people enroll, of which like almost 70,000 finished it. And I said, wow, this is kind of cool. We can keep this going. So we still have it. And we changed the content to keep it fresh. And we put through a couple thousand people now every 2 years when we update it. But it wasn't thought out like an entrepreneur. And that kind of shocked me after because people were like, wow, great idea to get FAU on the map. Wow, great marketing. I'm like, that wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I don't know.
Can you share some of the most creative things you saw come out of COVID, right? Certain, businesses, let's say locally or nationally, that did something so unique, and just pivoted to create a business when everyone else was shut down?
Yeah, one of my greatest examples is my friend Danielle, who owns Oceans 234.
I was going to mention her.
Yeah, I love her.
It was incredible what she did.
She's a vibrant entrepreneur anyway. She started as a bus girl at that restaurant. Now she owns multiple restaurants all these years later. But during the pandemic, she was bright enough because she had outdoor seating, but her guests were telling her, I can't find toilet paper, I can't find baby food, I can't find this. So she went to all her suppliers and she started her own mini grocery with no markup, just for her guests. And they would come, they'd do all their shopping. She would order it from Cisco or Florida Foods and market it, and not mark it up, but keep them happy. And to this day, those people still frequent her store because she was loyal to them during the pandemic and they've been loyal to her.
Can we back it up a tad though?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think she was successful? Because if anyone did that, they might not succeed just switching gears, but she's doing a lot behind the scenes. And I think you know a lot about what she really is up to behind the scenes. So can you share why you believe she was successful with that pivot?
I think the successful people in hospitality have never lost their light that we are all about people.
Yeah.
So during the rising cost of living down here, she actually went out and bought condos and rented them to her own employees for 2-bedroom condos so they could live at a reasonable cost versus going to find another job. She thinks like an entrepreneur. It's cheaper than having turnover in your kitchen staff. And she's in touch with the pulse of her clients or her guests. That's what she does best. She's always asking for improvement, And Ocean's 234, it's not a huge restaurant, but it's a super successful restaurant. And that's just how a vibrant entrepreneur would think to me, is to not lose sight with, hey, I could sit back now and step away from the operation.
And I'll share my experience. She came on the shrimp tank and we did our first past guest event at Ocean's 234. But even, going to the beach, I brought my daughter to her restaurant and she's like, it's on me. And she's so personable, right? And she does so much for the local community behind the scenes. So often everybody just judges it based on like the food, of course, quality, their experience at the restaurant, but she does so much behind the scenes. She's out and about in town and supporting other entrepreneurs as well. So Absolutely. I think there's always so much more that goes into successful business owners than people see. And that's the point. I always like to make sure everyone really kind of understands that it's not just like the front end appearance.
That's it. That tickles me that she was on the show. That's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, and there are a lot of companies that did things wrong, in hospitality and pretty much every business. They didn't strategize how to get through the pandemic well. And you can't take employees who 24/7 are involved in a spirit of giving and caring and taking care of guests and then just suddenly pull the plug and disappear. There wasn't enough information. What's going on? When will we be back? How are we going to operate? But Danielle was front and center.
She was.
Let's try this. Let's try that. Okay, this doesn't work. That's just how she thinks.
I think I helped you, Kevin. I think you were out of toilet paper that time. And I was like, here you go. Here's the secret source.
Yeah,
I know Danielle.
I give a plug to 2J's Deli because I eat 2J's once a week and they had extra toilet paper and they said, hey, we're shutting down. You want it? I'm like, heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So when I go to 2J's now, that sometimes the older time servers will remember, hey, you still got our toilet paper? I'm like, thanks a lot, buddy.
Come on, man. Everybody knows I'm a big bidet guy, so I don't even worry about that kind of stuff. All right, another question from the audience. What can entrepreneurs learn about managing employees from the hospitality industry, right? Is there any synergy there for entrepreneurs maybe in other industries that might be totally different?
Absolutely. One of the drivers of students in our program in hospitality in a business school are not traditional hospitality workers. They come to us for the service skills. So if you're going to be a wealth manager, we teach you how to interact faster, better, smarter, and friendlier than the wealth advisor sitting next to you. If you want to manage a chain of Jiffy Lubes, we're going to teach you how to be better with the customer service and build a culture. So hospitality skills are about building culture while maintaining profitability. So we might spend a little more on our employees, but we want to make sure we're maximizing the return on investment at the same time. So our skills, like our classes, excellence in guest service, that applies to a dental office, it applies to a veterinarian, it applies to a salon, it applies to everything. So what we teach are services strategies. And I would say, yes, anybody listening to this, if you want to hone your people skills and your ability to deal with your customers better, whether you're an attorney. I mean, I have graduates. I had a student here who was a pharmacy student. He came to minor in hospitality because he wanted to work at CVS, and now he's an area vice president for CVS. We taught him the people skills. He learned the pharmacy skills. But I don't care what you're going to do in life. You need people skills.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree. And no matter what it is, obviously the United States is largely a service-based economy already. But even if you're making a product, whether it's a physical product or software or whatever it may be, there are almost no true product only companies, right? It's always a combination of a product and a service. And that service element is a critical component to any product.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting because Americans and the US citizens in general settle for what I consider lackluster service. So if you really just put a twist and do a little bit better than the store next to you or the gift shop or the drive-through, you're gonna really impress your clients. Can I give an example?
Yeah,
especially?
share a
Okay.
couple of tips because
So-
I'm in the service business, financial services.
Absolutely.
I run the app Owl, and I love this type of talk because often you have two similar financial advisors. They do things so similarly, but there's like that little extra edge that means the difference. And over time, there's a huge compounding effect. Why one is super successful and one's just kind of okay.
So, you know, the two examples come to mind. I went to Starbucks a week ago and I have money on my Starbucks card. I go to check out and it's zero. And I know that I have at least $30 on there. The barista, without hesitation, said, "It's on me. Go figure it out." Made my drink. Lovely young lady, high school student in Coral Springs area. I go on and I report it, and Starbucks says, "Yeah, we've had some fraud." They put it back. But that young lady innately had genuine service skills. And so I wrote to her manager, her area manager, and I wrote to Starbucks. So if you're going to bash companies on TripAdvisor or Yelp or Kayak, make sure that when there's something good, you also rave about those companies. So I asked her area manager and her store manager, what is it about this particular person? And they said that's hospitality's in her DNA. So of course, I want her now to come to FAU to study hospitality. She's a senior in high school. And she said, "Oh, I've thought about it. I just didn't know it was a career. It's yada, yada." So that's one example. The other one's my friend Carolyn, who I went to school with in the 80s at UF, who was one of the first female wealth managers to ever become super successful. She's a multimillionaire. And her philosophy is all about what I would complain about and chat about and behoove her to do about hospitality. So she decided to go into wealth management, helping groups of individuals that otherwise would not be taken care of in society. So she started working with groups of nuns, with groups of friends that were pooling their money that had lower income. She made money on it, but she always had a hospitable spirit to give back. And I'm telling you, if you text her 24/7, somebody on her team is going to answer you immediately. They're going to be professional. They're going to be friendly, and she's never going to lie to you. And so she has those innate hospitality skills, even though we're very different personalities, you know? Don't ask me to budget too well.
Yeah, what I love what you're talking about is everything is free. It's just having a system and being nice and kind. You see that at Chick-fil-A, of course, and in the financial service business, I like everything you're saying. Like even like when you filled out the survey for the shrimp tank, but we do that on the financial service side as well. So someone could tell like you're trying to get to know them better, and then you could send gifts. One of my tricks is during the holidays, I load up all my clients into Amazon, and one click away, they get a gift in the mail, right? But anytime there's a life event, like someone passes away, right, or there's a grandchild that enters the family, just go on Amazon, click send, and those little touches, you know, that are $5 to $10 mean the world to them.
Absolutely.
And so many times, like people think it costs so much money to touch your clients or customers, and it's really easy. They just want to see that you care and you're thinking about them. And that goes right back to the barista situation where you didn't have money on the app, and you know, if you did that at Dunkin' Donuts, nope, see you later. You're like, you can't get a coffee. Right. But Starbucks will be like, no problem. Or when you order to the wrong store, like I've done 100 million times, you get there and you're like, where's my coffee? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. You order to the wrong store, and they make a new one up for you.
Right.
But so many businesses, you know, just they're so strict, and they take that human element out of it, and people just want to be heard. And I think people are sick of just not being heard when they go to the restaurant and you're like, oh, the wait's 45 minutes. See you later. And you walk away and you're like, wow, did they let me leave the restaurant? And it's amazing to witness. I think we're going to jump to some pitches, Kevin, right?
Yeah, Peter, you want to hear some pitches today?
Yes,
sure.
let's
Give
do
your
it.
expert opinion from the hospitality industry.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'm going to change this segment up. We got to fix these segments. We're working on it.
Working on it.
So I don't have to explain some complicated med device or crazy thing. I'm going to pick something related to your industry. We'll do one successful startup and your evaluation of them, so you already know all about them, and then I'll explain another one to you. So Airbnb. What is your opinion on Airbnb in terms of lodging, their business model? I am and have been an investor in Airbnb. I know they have a lot of things planned for the future. I'm not too sure about that, but they plan to do a bunch of verticals. They haven't really released this. Airbnb, obviously, you can rent places on there. They rolled out experiences. They want to tackle a lot more. Where do you think they're going, and are you impressed with kind of where they've been? What's your take?
I'm not an Airbnb fan. They started as a tech company. They never they never gave themselves a shot in the arm enough to be a hospitality company. Now you kind of find them scrambling to find themselves. There was just a couple of articles this week about the direction they're trying to go. I would say the results are 50-50 with my network of friends who use them and like them. I just like the standards of a brand or the standards of a management company or somebody letting me know, because I've had too many poor experiences with Airbnb. But I think where they could improve is definitely adding hospitality into their mindset. We, as one example that really bothered me, at the couple of years ago at the Florida Governors Conference on Tourism, Airbnb was a presenter. They wouldn't share their PowerPoint with any faculty member. They didn't want students to see any data on them. They wouldn't give it to anybody in the audience. And everybody else, we had the CEO of Hilton calling me on my cell saying, "Hey, send me a selfie." And you got Airbnb with this big propaganda wall against the society. So to me, they weren't a hospitality company, and I just stopped using them.
Yeah, that's classic
Sorry.
tech company behavior.
It is.
Well, I question what they plan to do moving forward, because it sounds expensive and I don't know if it'll work. I mean, it's done well, so either way, it's kind of like, all right, maybe now's a good time to get out.
I think what they did exceptionally well was open the world of vacation rentals and shared lodging. So I have several students who are entrepreneurs that have bought 10 or 15 condos and start running their own mini management company / Airbnb. And so they've opened the world to travelers to know that you can pick and choose. You don't have to stay at a Hilton or a Marriott. But if you think about Marriott, it has 32 brands now. How the heck are you going to know what hotel you're in? They all look the same to me. You go to an Edition, a W, a Westin, they all look so similar. So what does a brand really mean to anybody anymore? What I look for a brand is at least 5 key things that they promise on. And if they don't promise, I don't use them anymore. That's it. But I think Airbnb opened that door to shared lodging.
All right. How about one more pitch? And this one Jason will like, because it's a little risky. This is a current FAU student who is probably watching this show, but I want your objective opinion either way. So she launched her very own startup. She's had some customers already and seems like she's getting more, but you'll know all about this, I imagine. She's offering a service, and it is dry bartenders for events. So she provides bartending services for events and venues where someone externally or the group that's hosting can purchase the alcohol directly, but then they don't serve it. She provides the serving service. Thoughts?
Outstanding.
Nice.
As long as she has a group of employees who really want to be there and pour well and do well, absolutely. Because often I'll hire a catering company to do an event, and they want you to buy the alcohol through them and pay these ridiculous prices. I'm sure a lot of you in here go to clubs. It's like buying a bottle at Live, and so you're paying $10,000 for a bottle of vodka that should cost, maybe $1,200 if they really want to mark it up, even if you're a superstar. Absolutely, I would use her. And then you have the professionalism of a bartender at your party. There's a guy that they shop around to come do the DJ at your home parties, and he was at a Super Bowl party I went to. He made the Super Bowl so much better. Like, it was just fun to have a DJ there, and he was a professional DJ at a house party. And I was like, wow. So yeah, kudos to her. Kudos to her. Hire right and hire sincere, genuine people who also know how to make a drink, and she'll go far.
Well, that's good news.
You know, I love that idea.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Ebbs and flows with the income statement. She's got a, seasonal, bring in all the money. Don't spend it all in the season. And, holidays will bring in the money. So hospitality is very cyclical, which the student that asked before about running away from our business, that's a tough one to deal with in hospitality. Is most venues will be cyclical, whether it's Vail, whether it's South Florida. So you have to pace yourself. And, we are year round, but you got to pace yourself as an owner.
Okay, so one of your hobbies is gambling. So let's talk about the Hard Rock Hotel down here in South Florida, because when I was living in New York, I'd go to Atlantic City quite often and stay at the Borgata, and they treated me right. If I put any money in a slot machine, free hotel rooms, right? All the casino odds were a lot better than the odds down here in South Florida. You go to Vegas, odds are way better, and they just have a better reward system. Down here, the Hard Rock kind of gets away with a monopoly, right? They're the only real casino in town, and has really nice hotel rooms. So what are your feelings with what they're doing, where you have to pay for a drink while you go play at the blackjack table, as an example? Then they're not providing the correct odds at the blackjack table unless you go to a higher limit, for example. Then sometimes you got to fight to get on a table. And I just feel like I'm not getting that same experience. I'd rather get on a 5-hour flight, go to Vegas, get comp rooms versus paying they're expensive at Hard Rock, $300 to $1,200 a night. So what are your thoughts in general?
Well, yeah, they have the control of the market. The Seminole tribe had the initial compact. They were very liberal in the beginning. And then when we passed laws to have former dog racing and horse racing and highlight frontons permitted to have slots, if you look at the Harrah's Pompano Beach, I don't know if any of you gone to the new golf facility there.
Yeah, they've done a good job. Yeah,
they're trying hard, but that Harrah's has such a burden on taxes. It's unbelievable. Almost 50 cents on the dollar they're paying for some kind of taxes and employees and so on. The Hard Rock doesn't have any of that. It amounts to maybe under 5% total. So the Hard Rock has an incredible advantage. Well, add in that they have this money coming in. It's like a money factory, so to speak. That's why they're building Vegas and all these other places, but they will have to compete more. They compete more in Atlantic City than they do in Bristol, which is their new casino in Virginia. They compete more in Atlantic City than they do in Dominican Republic. So yes,
course,
but
yeah.
we have a marketplace.
And they're going to Vegas now.
7 million
they took over
people.
the Mirage.
Yeah,
right.
So we have a marketplace of 7 million people. All of my gambling friends know we go there for entertainment. We don't expect to win.
So why is one of your hobbies casino math?
I love casino math. I'm so fascinated by random number generators and statistics and how slot machines are built and how consumers are marketed to with reels and and just the impulse stuff. It just fascinates me as an area. If I would ever start over again, I'd be a researcher in casino gaming and statistics. I just love it.
Isn't it incredible that someone could sit at a slot machine for 8 hours straight?
Absolutely.
And like ding and then pulling. I miss the quarters though.
The problem also is that I live in
dings.
Coconut Creek and I can see the casino from our house. So it makes it a little worse. It's too close.
All right, I can just have one last question, and maybe we do some news and get out of here. What are some potentially disruptive or opportunities for disruption in the hospitality market? Maybe a savvy entrepreneur in our audience or listening out there might be able to take advantage of.
I think high-level VIP travel agents are coming back. There's not enough of them. You have Priceline and Expedia and all the OTAs, the online travel agencies that I think are just run-of-the-mill. But I have seen some entrepreneurs go into affluent client VIP made excursions. I think that's an area to explore.
We've had one of those on the show.
Yeah.
Really? Excellent.
Yeah. It was pretty exclusive. I think they talked about planning someone's trip where it was 15 days in Europe
crazy.
and the budget was 75,000 or 150,000, a little more than my
landing,
budget
and he wanted
is.
like something unique when he landed. There was a lot of details, like a Ferrari, something along those lines.
Sure. So I think that whole personal concierge has a way to go in today's busy society. Like you would go to a travel agency building back in time and sit with someone and look at brochures because there was no internet, and they would package you this dream vacation. Well, now we're all so busy. I'd rather have somebody. I use a VIP travel agent for my Royal Caribbean cruises. They book every dinner, every wine pairing. I don't want to be bothered. I'm too busy here at FAU. But the problem is when you're starting that, you better be knowledgeable on the place, on the consistency and all that, because $100,000 client that you lose, your 10,000 commission, you're back to square one. So you just got to do your homework first. But I think that's an area. And then craft beers keeps exploding. I don't care what you say. I went to Captiva Island a couple of weeks ago. They had a Captiva beer, a Sanibel beer, a Fort Myers beer. Of course, we sampled them all. We liked them all, but I think there's still space in that market. You know,
man, you know how to do this professor life, right? I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah,
got a lot
baby.
of stuff going on.
Oh,
I
yeah.
need to hang out with
Well,
Peter a little bit
Well,
more.
Peter, because Tap 42 was generous. Here's a free
awesome. I love
drink
this. I
coupon
love
to try
this
a
stuff.
beer at Tap 42 in Boca Raton.
Their manager's awesome, by the way.
Absolutely. And everyone in the audience, they want to do a lot of specials with Florida Atlantic University. So go ahead and head to Boca Center and say hi to Robert. And he'll hook you guys up.
Yeah, great. Well, in terms of news here at FAU and Florida's Atlantic's Adams Center, same news, right? Coming up December 3rd and 4th, NobleCon, Small Caps Market Conference. There's going to be hundreds of investors there. If anybody wants a promo code where they can save $300 and get full access to the conference for only $99, just reach out to me. I'll get them one. That ticket also includes a ticket to the Croc Tank. That's right, folks. The Sharks are coming to FAU to listen to some of our entrepreneurs' pitches and potentially invest. It's going to be electric on March 4th, so I hope everybody is there. Students can get tickets for that by just basically paying the processing fees. It's like $9.60. So I better see a bunch of students there. Great opportunities, really exciting things here at Florida Atlantic in entrepreneurship.
Awesome. And I'll close with call Peter on the Owl app. I know many people hear the commercial that we have on our show, and we're the first technology where you gain access to people like Peter and really just, pitch a collaboration. If you have a podcast show out there and you want Peter to join, call him up and say, hey, I heard you on the Shrimp Tank. Maybe you'd be a good guest on my show. And of course, pick his brain. He's a very hard to reach professional, and Owl enables people out there to directly get in contact with Peter without his cell phone, without his email. And Peter will be our featured expert on the Owl app in the next 7 days. So of course, go ahead and reach out to him. Peter, thank you for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank.
And if anybody wants to throw their shrimp, throw it at Jason.
Throw your shrimp at me. Whoa!
I love it.
We got shrimps back in the Shrimp Tank again. Woo!
All right.
Take care, everybody.